Hey, it's Matt with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday. It's July 19th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and a really strong uptrend today. It was looking really strong here, and then it kind of looked like we may flatten out some. But generally, once you've traded up this long and this far into the regular session, after a correction, you may get that next leg up. And all I did was just take that line and drag it down. And I mean, you won't see it work that easily that often, but it did today. Um, and maybe there's just another, oops, didn't mean to do that. Put that out a little bit. Maybe there's a midline in here. Probably is. Doesn't really come into play much, but there looks like there's probably a midline right through there. And this is just the lower side. But generally, what you'll see quite often is on a channel like this, even if you get a break, you'll find a new low point and you'll start the next trend up and you'll get a measured move. So if you measure that first leg and then look for the second leg, you can see we got basically, we went just slightly higher, but we made a perfect measured move and then corrected a little bit and then pushed up just a little more into the close. This is one of those days where notice what happened here. This is a strong trend. It traded up all the way into the close and almost closed on its very high. And you don't see that a whole lot. So this was a strong trend day, and that's your target once you start going high. And the only way to enter these, you're not going to get any big corrections. And the way to recognize these is you just keep making little small. There's lots of dojis in there. Look, notice all the dojis, and it just keeps going higher and higher. And all the corrections are just minor corrections, and it goes higher. So the only way you're going to enter a trend like this is just wait for it to come back to the key entry point and buy, and that's the only way you're going to get in it. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there and watch it go. And what really the mistake most people make on these kind of days is they don't recognize that this is a strong trend because of all the little bars and a lot of the sideways stuff. And so they're steadily trying to pick tops instead of just buying. If you really just bought any correction, notice if you bought any correction in the afternoon, you would have made money. It didn't even have to come back to the key entry point. If you just bought any correction and you had to go long right into the high every single time, but it would have been easy money. And so that's the only way to trade this. But I'm going to back out, talk about the trades. There's only 4 or 5, so it won't take long. But that was the main thing I wanted to get across today, that this is one of those strong trends that I talk about where it just keeps going higher and higher, and there's lots of little bars, lots of dojis, and there's a lot of sideways action. And you'll get a little correction and it takes off, a little correction, it takes off, a little correction, and it doesn't go very far, but it goes, it'll go a point or two maybe, and then it backs up again, and then it takes off again, and that's just the way and that when you see that with all these little bars and all these dojis in there, that is a strong, and you'll see them to the downside too, but that is a strong trend. So learn to recognize that, study this chart, and remember this, and when you see it next time, you can be prepared for it. So, and notice what happened here. We talk about this a lot. We started correcting here, going sideways, and we get that failed break lower once again, and that turns out to be a major low point for the day. And if you catch that, you're in business for the rest of the day. You only have to catch that one trade. You can ride this all the way up. So anyway, let's talk about the trades. First trade I saw, you got your reversal pattern here. You're really kind of going sideways, but notice what happens. You make a new low here. That's a new low. Then you get a first entry. You shoot up. You pull back. You get a second entry short. It fails. You get a bounce off that EMA. You also you got a short-term trend line working up there. You get a bounce off it. It's also a breakout pullback because it does break higher above that double top. So with that being a reversal pattern, I like that to the long side, especially with bouncing off this trend line right here. I like that. And you don't know that it's going to take off 4 or 5 points like that, but it does. And if you catch a runner there, you're in great shape. and then it comes back here. You actually get this is a double bottom, so you can count that as new low. So you actually get a failed second entry short right here. But after moving that far and being that far away from the EMA, I'm just not crazy about it. And notice what happens here. You push up, make a new high, you come back, and you double test this level. You've tested it once, now again. So you might consider entering here, but with it being that close to the high and having a break of this trend, you don't really have enough price action to say, hey, this is a real strong trend day. It's looking like it's a strong trend, but we've already got a break of that little trend line and a new high. So even though you may get that next leg up, it may not be enough. So that one's a little questionable. I'd want to wait on another test. You actually get another test here, so you could call this test 1 of this level and this test 2 of this level. So you get another double test here. Only problem is that's a first entry, and you need a second entry, which doesn't come till here. But by that time, you know, you're just going sideways there, and you got all those bars stacked up. They're closing up and down and in the middle, and so you really need to wait and see if you can get a reversal pattern. Now, if it would have broke higher above this bar or this bar, maybe. Again, it's getting a little close to those highs, but this is a key entry point here, main trend line. So I was prepared to enter here, but instead it turns down. And you don't want to go short there. You can't really go short. So you just have to wait and see if you get a failed break lower, which you do. And that's the first break of what looks like the main trend line right here. And so I like going long above that bar. This is really your signal bar here, but this is the trigger when it breaks higher. So your stop has to go below that bar. And notice what you get there. You got one leg down, and then you got another measured leg down right there. So that's 2 legs, and in between, there's really 2. Notice that low, you move up, you come back, and you move up. So you got 2 legs in between, and that's generally the center point of your pattern for the day. And so you look for that measured move on this side from that point there, and you see that's exactly about where we went before we started correcting again. And we actually went a little higher than that. So, but that's a strong trend day, so that's not surprising. You know, if it had been a weaker trend day, you might have come up short, but on a stronger trend day, you not only get your target, you might push a little bit higher, and you can see we did. We didn't push a whole lot higher, maybe a point or so there, but it's enough to say we pushed higher. So, but anyway, I drew this arrow here just to remember to talk about that. So you don't really get a good setup here, and if you would have entered, it would have been just enough to get out. Actually, it would have been a 4-tick failure, because you need a buy stop 1 tick above would lift you 4 ticks. So if you did enter there, when this ended as a doji and we just kept going sideways here, I wouldn't have let it come back, stop me out. I would have exited when it broke lower, because then you know you got a failed second entry long, because it's a pullback first entry and then pullback second entry. So I would not let that stop me out. If it broke higher here, yeah, maybe you hang on, but instead it breaks lower. So this is where you want to enter here, when it breaks lower and gives you that failed break lower. And if you caught that, you catch a runner, you ride it all the way up. But notice the new low, then you push up right through the EMA, you pull back. And even though it doesn't break lower, this is that hidden second entry, and then it runs up and it pulls back again, and it confirms this second line here. You really already got it off those first few bars by just dragging this over, and when it bounces there, that's really very similar to a failed second entry short. It's a hidden one, like we talked about yesterday, and it is a bounce off that trend line, the EMA. At the very least, you know you're going to make a new high, most likely, because of the bigger channel here. And so your very first target would be to measure that leg and then come over here and measure this one. You see we want a perfect measured move before it corrected again. And that would have been your clue to maybe, hey, wait for this to come back to the trend line, because we've got two measured moves in there, so we're probably going to get a correction. And that's exactly what happens in those. You go sideways until you get a nice bullish bar off the key entry point with that confluence of the EMA there as well. I like going long right there. And this is a new low, so that's a failed second entry short right there. One leg up, correction, second leg up, correction, and it fails. So you might even enter right there. It's not back to the key entry point, but there's enough reasons to at least make that green, and you could probably argue for that to be almost blue. You would have had to ride all this out, really, so you might have got out with what you could get rather than sitting through it. But on a strong trend day, there's no reason you wouldn't consider maybe entering there, especially if you're being aggressive. So that's what I saw today. Again, not a lot of trades. It just seems, I mean, this is, you understand too that this is July, the summer months. The markets are historically known for being slow and low volume this time of year. So this is a pretty good trend day considering this time of year. Once we get into the fall, that's generally a time when the market picks back up again. So hopefully soon the summer doldrums will be over, and the volume and volatility will pick back up. I can't talk today. I don't know what my brain is not working with my voice here. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you had a great trading day. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.